Hello, it's Rob Watson. I've been away for the last week or so, and I think I explained in the last video that I did. I was going to Ghana. Well, I went, and I thought I'd just share some observations and thoughts about that. If you want to listen to a video, some audio that I recorded while I was there, go over to my website decentered.co.uk. There's also some images. There's a gallery of images on one of the blog posts that I've posted as well. So just to kind of put it into context and to get a sense of what I'm just going to briefly talk about. So we travelled to. I went with a colleague from DMU, and we flew out on Saturday the 18th via British Airways. About a six and a half hour, 7 hour flight. Reasonably comfortable, fairly old 747 to be honest. And then we arrived in Accra about 9 p.m. in the evening. Got picked up at the airport by the hotel shuttle and had a decent night's sleep at the hotel. And then the next morning after breakfast, we were met by some of the people from Ho Technical University, which was the main purpose of our visit. So we had a nearly 4 hour drive from Accra to Ho, which is very interesting, given it was the first time that I'd been in West Africa, and my colleague Eric, he'd been to Nigeria before. So it kind of gave us a good sense of, kind of what the country is like as a kind of first impression. It's not very good to do that from the back of a pickup truck as you're driving along, but it's a developing nation. So in the same way with Cambodia, one of the things I noticed there was that it's kind of business and trade is done along the street, along the road, if you like. The road is the lifeblood of commercial activity. So people are selling things, people are making things, fixing things, trading things, swapping things, leaving things to fall apart. And really the outskirts of Accra along this particular route were looked quite chaotic on my first impression. But that is usually wrong, because of course there is a kind of structure and an order there. But it was Sunday, so actually a lot of people were focused on church activities, which is a very important part of community life in Ghana. And quite literally there's a kind of almost a church every couple of 100 meters. And people very smartly dressed, attending their church services. So it was a good kind of way to observe and kind of get a sense of what's out there. And it is, it's an African nation, and it's a very dignified and proud people who, with small levels of resources, are able to carry themselves with incredible dignity. And life must be quite tough in many ways if you're living and quite literally in a mud hut, where with a tin roof or a thatched roof, as was evident as we drove along to Ho. Then these it's kind of quite, it puts our Western troubles into perspective, and how much affluence we have in the West that we take for granted. So we arrived at Ho. Unfortunately, our hotel hadn't been able to take our booking via bookings.com, and hadn't informed. Well, they had a problem with the connection, and they've had a number of people who have not been able to secure their booking, but they've not fixed it. Fortunately, Divine, who is our contact at Ho Technical University, was very, very on the ball, if you like, and he managed to arrange for us to stay in a different hotel. This was the African Hill Hotel, which overlooked the city of Ho, and it gave us a really kind of a nice vista to wake up to. I was kind of very kind of grateful for that, and also I mean, the downside for that is that we weren't in the town. We weren't as close to the town, so we couldn't really get a sense of what it was like to be in the town and maybe walk around and interact, because we were up this hill, and it would have taken a taxi ride to get into the town. So we kind of stayed in the hotel most evenings after doing our meetings and our sessions in the daytime. And we were shown around. We had a very, very good set of people who guided us around the town to introduce us to it. And so lots. I've not had 8 hours sleep for 5 nights in a week for an awful long time. And there were no aeroplanes flying overhead. There's no motorway nearby. You really are, kind of in a very peaceful and nice environment. So there's no heavy industry, so the pollution isn't there. So it's kind of remarkably peaceful and relaxing. The weather was fairly temperate because it's the wet season. So you were talking about 28 degrees as kind of maximum, which is very pleasant. Humid in at periods, but also a lot of kind of rain, cloud cover, kind of moisture blowing in from the hills. So there's some photos up on the website on decentered.co.uk. And then also, and the food was very nice, but you kind of get fed up of. Well, sorry, this is again kind of Western affluence, isn't it? Really, but lacked a bit of spice maybe for our taste. So it was kind of it was consistent and it was very well produced. But not a great deal of variety. But I enjoyed it. I had chicken and chips quite a lot, which I've not had for a long time, and rice as well, quite a lot of rice. So it was very, 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 very nicely well made food. It couldn't fault it from that point of view. But I kind of would have liked a little bit more herbs and spices maybe. So it's but if the supply chain isn't there. And the cultural expectations aren't there, then me coming with my Leicester expectations isn't necessarily appropriate. And then so we had our meetings and we discussed the kind of potential for collaboration between Hoe Technical University and De Montfort University, and we talked about community media, and we had guided tours around the town. And unfortunately, when we initially planned the visit, we had planned this particular week because it wasn't during the teaching time, but the university was celebrating its 50th anniversary, and in order to secure the presence of the president of Ghana, which is a great honour for the university, they had to move the date, so that kind of coincided with our visit. So everybody was busy with that, but it gave us a good idea of kind of what was happening. On Thursday, we had a really nice day out where we went to we drove, as it was described to us, the nether regions. We drove out for a couple of hours to a monkey sanctuary, which was lovely. I've never been so close to monkeys before, and our guide taking us through the forest really kind of showed us how to feed them with bananas and to kind of give us a strong sense of the bond, I think, that and respect that people have to look after wildlife, because if you don't look after the residents of the forest, if you like, you are likely to suffer yourself. And that was one of the stories that was told us about kind of ecological sustainability and protection. And then after that, we drove back to Hilltop Village, which is where our friend Patience was from, and she showed us. We climbed up to the hill. It'd actually been established by German pilgrims, is that the right word? Missionaries, and they'd built a school there, and it's the highest occupied point in Ghana. I suppose even a few years ago it would have been completely cut off. And I had an interesting conversation with a very nice lady, Juliet, who works at the radio station, and she said that the first time that she remembers the first time she saw electricity. She grew up in a village outside of her when she was brought to the city, and she saw it all lit up, and she was 9 years old at the time. And so that puts it, that kind of makes you realise that the reference points are very different. So I'm hoping at some point, if I can secure some funding, is to get back to Ghana at some point. We had a day on Saturday where we explored a little bit of Accra, which is it's, I think that might take a little bit more getting used to from my perspective. So we bought some gifts. We went to the arts market and we did our bit in supporting the local economy and bought some shirts and things like that. And but I think we outnumbered the buyers were outnumbered by the sellers by about 100 to 1. So it's kind of, it was it was again another, and I brought some music back which I've posted up as a podcast on my other website, which is robwatsonmedia.net. So you can listen to some high life music, which I really like, and there's a great radio station in that our taxi driver was playing as we drove around the town. It's Angel FM from Accra. So if you get a chance to listen to that, I need to find out if there's a live stream from it somewhere. But the music was great. I really enjoyed it. So the music I brought back, I hope, gives us a small taste of what that's like. So yeah, we got back on Monday morning, 7 a.m. We arrived at Heathrow, got our taxi back to Leicester. Got to carry on taking the malaria tablets for the next week. Don't feel like I brought anything back with me that I shouldn't have brought back, but you never know. And it always takes a few days to kind of get over the tiredness of it. But it was definitely a worthwhile experience, and very, very lovely people. We were made, sitting in home, we were made to feel very welcome. So looking forward to visiting again and thinking about how we can use community media and what we can do in terms of communication for sustainable development, and how we can think about how digital impact and media literacies can be supported and enhanced in kind of town communities and rural communities in developing nations like Ghana. So yeah. So I'll if I post anything more up this week, I've got a bit of writing to do. I want to do about it. I'll share some video thoughts as well. But see you next time.